I mentioned, well, he doesn't exactly qualify for the Darwin Award, but he died. Okay, T-Pain here. What little pamphlet did Thomas Paine write? Common Sense. Okay, Common Sense, right? Now, recently, historians have begun to pay more attention to the contributions of Thomas Paine. Before, it was kind of like, well, yeah, he wrote this thing, but was it that much of a deal? Well, as we start to take a look at it, okay, yes, it was. See, Paine wasn't even really, quote-unquote, an American. He had just arrived from England very recently under the patronage of Benjamin Franklin. Okay, he comes over and he sees the revolutionary fervor is starting to grip the colonists, and it starts to really move him. Okay, but he looks and he sees different people and exactly how they're kind of like sitting on the fence. So what he decides to do is he comes up with some arguments on how to convince people. All right, now, 1775. Do the vast majority of Americans want independence from Great Britain? No, they don't. Okay, it is just a very, very small group of people that even conceive of such an idea, right? However, when Paine starts looking around, he comes up with these arguments that the average person is going to think about, okay? So when he writes the 46-page pamphlet, Common Sense, it's handed out to the common people, because that's who have to really support this, because the common people are going to be the ones who are actually going to do what? Fight the war. Okay? Now, where would you hear Common Sense? It's not like you run down to Barnes & Noble and pick up a copy, right? Where would you be likely to hear it?
Maybe like a cafe or something.
Okay,
a
tavern. No coffee shops. Okay, there would be taverns. Okay, so it would be right out there. Where else? Well, tavern, bar, success. Okay, possibly on a street corner. Where else?
Town center.
Town center.
Certain churches.
Churches, okay, certain churches would allow that and things like that, okay? And as the people start to like hear these things, they start to do what? Huh. That just makes sense. Okay, the one up here says the law is king. Why is this kind of revolutionary thought in 1776?
Because the king was making the law and he was above it himself, so he didn't have to be,
Okay, yep.
Well, it's kind of a reversal of what they think at the time. I think the king is law rather than the law is king. Like, we should be ruled by law rather than the king ruling over us.
Exactly, and just like in Carl's argument, that's what a lot of people use. Okay, the king gets his authority from whom? God. The divine right of kings. So to say that, wait a minute, no, the king isn't the law, but the law is the king. Meaning the law applies to who? Everyone. Okay, it applies to everyone. Even brutes do not devour their young. He takes it down to very simple terms, okay? Back to the mother and child comparison. And so the average person go, wait a minute, yeah, they're not being nice. Okay? And how about this one? How can an island rule a continent? Can an island rule a continent? England has been doing it for decades, pretty much, right? Okay, but it stops and makes people think what? Yeah, our potential is boundless. Okay, you look to the west and see nothing but land. So maybe it makes sense for us to do what? Break away. The significance then of common sense over everything else stimulates debate. And it takes those people who are kind of undecided and pushes them toward this idea of, yes, maybe we actually can make it on our own. Was it a very risky thing that people were thinking of? Yeah, all those arguments that you just got made, they were right on target. Okay, yeah, it's scary to go off on your own. Right? When you guys leave for college or work or whatever, in a couple of years, it's going to be a scary thing. Some of you will go off the opportunity in your head of like, yeah, this is great, I can do this. Others of you will be kind of like, don't want to go too far. Okay? How many of you have ever seen the HBO miniseries John Adams? Okay? HBO did this miniseries, and it was actually one of the best produced, I think, historical dramas that I've ever seen. If we had time, we would probably watch the whole thing, but there's just no way to. There's a couple of scenes that I'm going to show you, though. Okay, the first one is going to be done in June of 1776. Okay, it's going to show Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and John Adams. And they're discussing the merits of a little piece of paper, okay, that TJ just did, which was called the Declaration of Independence. I want you to see their demeanors and how they relate to one another here too. Or we can just sit here and look at the purple screen and the hourglass. Okay.
This is something altogether unexpected. Not only a declaration of our independence, but of the rights of all men. Now, this is well said, sir. Very, very well said. The Christian king of Great Britain has waged cruel war against human nature itself, in the persons of a distant people who never offended him, captivating and carrying them into slavery in another hemisphere. Yes, you lay the evils of slavery at the feet of the king, but you say nothing of slavery itself, sir. Now, surely, if the trade is outlawed but ownership is not, then those unfortunate Negroes still in servitude will become a more lucrative commodity.
Well, that's not what I intended, Dr. Franklin. Slavery is an abomination and must be loudly proclaimed as such, but I own that neither I nor any man has any immediate solution to the problem.
Oh, but 'tis no matter. The issue before us is independence and not emancipation. Dr. Franklin, this document is something our friends in the Congress will debate, but I would be very surprised if they will countenance an attack on slavery. Now, we hold these truths to be sacred and undeniable, that all men are created equal, etc. Sacred and undeniable. Smacks of the pulpit.
Does it?
These truths are self-evident, are they not?
Perhaps.
Self-evident, then. Self-evident?
Self-evident.
Do not mistake me, sir. I share your sentiment.
Every single word was precisely chosen. I assure you of that, Dr. Franklin.
Yes, but yours will not be the only hand in this document. It cannot be. They will try to mangle it, and they may succeed. There may be expressions which I would not have inserted if I had drawn it up, but I will defend every word of it.
Well, that's what I believe.
This is a marvelous invention, Mr. Jefferson.
Yes, I went through a number of variations. This is by far the most successful. Simplest is always the best.
It's 2 seats.
And the top one swivels on rollers made from the window sash pulleys.
Oh, most ingenious.
No, we're not watching that. Okay, what did you notice about the exchange?
Jefferson's pretty flippant.
Yeah, I mean, he was a cool character, right? Okay. Did he almost look hurt and offended though?
Yeah.
When this is his baby. Okay, and Franklin's doing what?
Dissecting it.
Poking it, he's criticizing it, and Jefferson's kind of like, ooh. Okay, what else?
Wait, doesn't Thomas Jefferson own slaves?
Oh my goodness, what a dichotomy we have here, huh? Okay, when you actually know the people and things like that, when you look at this conversation, it's very ironic. Because here we have Thomas Jefferson, who is a lifelong slave owner. He even fathered children through one of his slaves. Okay? And on the other hand, we have Benjamin Franklin, who's an abolitionist and a Quaker. Okay, however, who's defending slavery?
Thomas Jefferson? Or, no, Benjamin.
Benjamin Franklin. Franklin was the one that says, wait a minute, you can't put this in here. Okay? So why does the abolitionist seem to support the institution of slavery?
He doesn't want to fight with his fellow people, like down south who have plantations and stuff who thrive on slavery. And he knows that we need to unify the colonies. And this is like the one chance he gets because the Albany Congress didn't work.
Okay, good. You think about this, okay, the what ifs of history. Could, theoretically, slavery have been abolished in 1776?
Yes.
Yes. If there's no slavery, there's no what? There's no Civil War. Okay, however, what is the probability of it actually coming to pass? About 0.0001. Okay, because what would have happened was every single colony south of Delaware would have said what? We're staying with England. Because their entire economic livelihood depended upon the institution of slavery. Jefferson, though, was actually very interesting, too, because he actually did espouse this idea of emancipation several times during his life. Okay, he really did not agree with the institution of slavery. However, he didn't even free any of his slaves except for a handful upon his death. Okay. All right. Next. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Declaration itself. Okay, you saw the three main players in the video. Okay, Jefferson, Franklin, and John Adams. The writing of the Declaration of Independence is pretty much going to be Thomas Jefferson's baby. Roger Sherman and Robert Livingston are all going to have a little bit of a hand in it, but it's pretty much Jefferson's jewel. Did Franklin do the right thing?
Yeah.
So, if Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, why in National Treasure did that guy say that Timothy Matlack was the official transcriber or whatever of the Declaration?
Well, the transcriber could have been just the person who recounted it. Okay. That could have been the problem. It could have been that section. Okay. All right, next thing that I kind of want to show is the second clip from John Adams. Once the Declaration of Independence has been written, what has to happen now? It has to be approved. Who has to approve it? Okay, the Continental Congress, representatives from all 13 colonies. Okay, remember, was everybody like behind this whole movement of yay, independence, let's go to war? No. And was it also by region? Yes. Okay. Two of the largest population of loyalists happen to be in the state of, or the colony of New York and South Carolina. So as you're watching this, I want you to look at the demeanor of the delegates to the convention and how people reacted to everything. How about?
Vote. The resolution proposed by Mr. Lee. That these colonies are, and of a right ought to be, free and independent states, and that all political connection between them and the country of Great Britain is, and of a right ought to be, totally dissolved.
New Hampshire? New Hampshire votes yes. Rhode Island? Rhode Island votes yes. Massachusetts? Massachusetts votes yes. New York? New York has yet to receive new instructions from its constituent assembly. We therefore respectfully abstain. Connecticut.
Connecticut votes yes.
New Jersey.
New Jersey votes yes.
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania votes yes.
Delaware.
Delaware votes yes.
Virginia.
Virginia votes yes.
Maryland.
Maryland votes yes.
North Carolina.
North Carolina votes yes.
South Carolina.
South Carolina votes yes.
Georgia.
Georgia votes yes.
The vote stands. 12 for independence, none against, with one abstention. The resolution carries. When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, and that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain What's that word there?
Unalienable.
With certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is in the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new governments. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states.
In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince, whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant, is unfit to be the ruler of a free people.
We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown.
And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Bless me.
God save our American states!
God save our American states!
My dearest friend.
Okay, what'd you pick up? What was the demeanor of the delegates? Yeah, it was very solemn, right? I mean, at the end, did you expect them to almost like burst into cheering? What did they do? Bless you. Yeah, they just sat there, very contemplative. Why?
They're like, do you really want?
Yeah, they just signed their death warrants. Okay, if they would have lost, okay, they all would have been executed, every single one of them. Not only that, possibility, good luck, okay, that their families would have also been executed or in prison. Stop and think about that, okay? Do you have a cause in your life right now that you'd be willing to sacrifice the lives of all your family members? Because that's what they were doing. Okay, so that, the whole thing, I mean, they're just, look at this going, oh my goodness. And the one delegate from South Carolina, you know, looked like he was about to die. And he's just like, what did I do? Okay. The second scene in there with the woman and the kids, that was actually Abigail Adams, okay, John Adams' wife. They were in quarantine because they had smallpox. Okay, and she was pretty good too. Okay.
Wait.
Yeah.
Did they really all agree? Like, because like in the book, doesn't it say it took them till like July 2nd to really decide that they were gonna have freedom?
And some people didn't. Some people left. Okay, some of the representatives, but all of the remaining people, okay, they agreed to it. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of dissension and stuff. Can you hit the space bar, please? Oops, I must have hit freeze. Yeah, I did. Yeah, when I do it. Somewhere on here there's a button that says freeze. Okay. Jefferson's notes, and then the delegates at the convention. Okay. Hold on, wait a minute. Is that where I went? Yeah. Okay. Okay, when you look at the writing of the actual document, things like that, Jefferson was heavily influenced, okay, by the Enlightenment authors. You know, you can actually feel the words of Voltaire and Rousseau and John Locke and Montesquieu and others, you know, as he's writing through this document, okay? Especially John Locke. There's a line in the Declaration that says we have the right to what? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, okay? Locke's words were always about natural rights. It's life, liberty, and what? Property. Okay, so we see that all over the place. We also see the influence of Thomas Paine's Common Sense. Okay. Was Jefferson a very eloquent writer? Yes, he was. Very, very good with the pen. Not so much with the spoken word, but he knew how to turn a phrase, that's for sure. Okay, when we talk about the significance of the Declaration of Independence, okay, it's going to come into 4 different areas. Before July of 1776, was a rebellion occurring? Yes, it was. Right?
Yeah.
What's the difference between rebellion and independence?
Rebellion, you're just fighting to change what the government is doing. Independence, you want a whole secession from it.
Yeah, and is there a different connotation?
Yeah.
I mean, does independence have a much stronger, like, positive than rebellion? Yeah, exactly. Okay, so it has the moral high ground. A lot of people think that the French and the Spanish come to the aid of the colonies because they want to embrace this whole idea about a republican form of government and democracy. No, why not?
They just didn't like it.
They're monarchs, right? What did they want to do?
Take it up.
They wanted to kick England in the teeth. Okay? The enemy of my enemy is my
Friend.
bam. Exactly it. However, the French and the Spanish don't want to get involved in what could be considered to be an internal British civil dispute. Once the colonies say we want to be free, well then the French and Spanish are like, oh, really? I guess it wouldn't hurt to help you out a little bit then. After the Battle of Saratoga, okay, the U.S. victory there, okay, is going to enable the colonists to actually, like, reach out to the French. The French are like, wait a minute, you guys actually might win this. Now, they've been slipping us arms and money under the table for 2 years, but in 1778, what did the French do?
Openly helped us.
They openly helped us. Could we have actually won the American Revolution without foreign aid?
No.
Absolutely not. Okay, absolutely not. And last but not least, okay, it's been a source of inspiration. The American Revolution becomes the first time in modern history that the war is going to be a wage for freedom, be successful, start the institutions of democracy and republicanism. Okay? Do we see this spread throughout the world? Yeah, it spreads from the United States next to which country? France. Okay, the French Revolution, been through Central and South America, all the way into the 20th century. Okay? In 1945, a guy was sitting around his capital, right? And he wants to get a colonial power out. That colonial power happened to be the French, right? He had spent years fighting the Japanese and then the French to try and kick them out of what was called back then Indochina, right? And he sat down and he penned his own version of a Declaration of Independence. And he took huge chunks from Thomas Jefferson, and he took parts of the U.S. Constitution, and he wrote it in here, and he said, this is the freedom of my country, known as Vietnam. Okay, anybody know who that guy was? Ho Chi Minh. Okay, who ironically enough will do what? Fight the Americans. Okay. Probably the biggest significance of the Declaration of Independence, though, is when Nicolas Cage tries to steal it and rolls it into a tube and then runs away with it. I figured we'd watch this tomorrow, but then I came to my senses.
I love this song.
It's like the ultimate history.
I actually really love this song.
Maybe after the AP exam. A couple of tidbits. There's no sense to actually write this down. This is a quote by John Adams. The second day of July '76 will be the most memorable epoch in the history of America. I'm apt to believe that it will be celebrated by succeeding generations at the great anniversary festival. It's 2 days later. Okay. And everybody thinks that the Declaration of Independence was signed on July 4th, but it was actually signed on August 2nd. Okay? What you need to do right now, ladies and gentlemen, is find a copy of the American Pageant. In the back of the American Pageant, in the appendix section, is a copy